Okay, so as some of you guys might be aware, I recently put out a video talking about some of the objective reasons why in-ear headphones are worse than over-ear headphones. And apart from the fact that some folks had trouble with the more provocative title of that video, I actually think that it accomplished at least some of what I wanted it to, which is to talk about some of the facts about human anatomy and the use condition, the use case of IEMs bypassing the pinna, as well as some of the additional factors to do with issues surrounding IEM measurements, the common ones that you see. And my hope was that this would be able to equip people with a little bit more information to approach some of this stuff with a little bit more nuance than may be prevalent currently in IEM communities. And in that video, I also put together a section on the ways in which IEMs can be better. But here's the issue that I've run into, and now this is entirely my fault, but basically the mistake that I made was assuming that people would actually watch the video in its entirety and get to this section where I talked about how IEMs can actually be better than over-ear headphones, and often are. And so I want to do that video here. This is going to be a little bit more informal and a lot quicker, but I want to go over them here just to ensure that this hasn't been missed, because I think by and large, if we're looking at the landscape of headphones versus IEMs, I think you can make some pretty clear judgments about what's going to work for you at various different price points, and where IEMs are overwhelmingly better. So I think we can talk about that in this video. So the first thing to talk about and how IEMs can be better than headphones is that with headphones, you have headphone hair. Let's be honest, that's the biggest issue. That's the biggest reason why people use IEMs. Headphone hair is a major deal breaker. And so we move to IEMs for all that glory. Okay, but in addition to that, there are also downsides to comfort, the form factor for headphones, especially the high-end ones. You're wearing a heavy thing on your head the whole day. And of course, IEMs are absolutely portable. You can go outside, you can see grass, you can see the sun. Oh my God. They even have cartoon children on the boxes. Such incredible benefits to using IEMs. But leaving the obvious ones aside, let's talk about some of the additional factors when it comes to actually the technical side of IEMs as a sound delivery device that can make them better than over-ear headphones. So number one, IEMs are vastly cheaper to make. There's significantly less material going on, for starters, than something like this. You also have, you don't have to pay as much for tooling costs. So from the manufacturing standpoint, the barrier to entry for these is significantly less. And you see this evidenced by the countless IEMs that come out on a regular basis. Every week there's a new one. Ultimately, I land on that not really being a bad thing, because more options and more variety in the market is actually a good thing. At least in my view. I could be persuaded otherwise. That's my take right now, is that I think more variety, more options is good. And also competition is good. And so the more of these things that exist in the market, the better. So that's one key benefit. Number two, okay, this one is a little bit more technical. And it's that positional variation for IEMs, and here I'm talking about the length mode issue that I noted in that previous video. That is a much easier problem to solve. It's a much easier problem to identify and then solve subjectively than any mismatch or issues that you might find with positional variation for how something fits on your head compared to how you're reading the graph and what the graph shows.
But you can see that there's a lot of variation in the treble just with positioning of the headphone. In fact, there's variation here in the upper mid-range with positioning on the rig, and there's even variation here in the lower mids. And
exactly this. So let me clarify here. In my view, it's a bigger issue on IEMs, and oftentimes people don't know about this, but if you do know about this and you're looking for it, it's easier to find, because the variety of issues and differences that can show up with positioning on headphones, positional variation on headphones, can be more substantial. And to demonstrate the effects of positional variation, I'm going to run a real-time analysis of headphone frequency response here, just so you guys can see how this looks when you change the positioning of the headphone slightly. And what you're looking at here is me basically positioning it forward and backward to get a subtle difference in position on the head. This is the Focal Alere with Utopia pads here. As you can see, depending on how it is positioned, you can see some pretty meaningful differences in the treble as I do this. And this is also why you have to do multiple seatings when you're measuring over-ear headphones, and most of us measuring over-ear headphones do this. You kind of are at the mercy of the shape and the contours of the side of your head with headphones. And with IEMs, that's not really an issue. I mean, yeah, fit itself is going to be an issue, comfort itself. Sometimes the nozzle is too thick for people, but the positional variation is a thing that is going to be more of a factor with over-ear headphones, because there's only really one issue that you got to worry about with that, and that's the length mode, like I mentioned in the previous video. And again, not everybody's going to EQ that. I recognize that, but if you are the kind of person who is going to, it is easier to find and easier to fix with IEMs. Now, number 3 is the big one, and this is really where I think the best case for IEMs comes in, and it's that IEMs are easier to tune. You can be far more specific in how you tune an IEM than you can be with over-ear headphones. With IEMs, you're using multiple drivers, you're implementing them with crossovers, so you can be much more deliberate about the sound signature that you're going after with the tuning of these things. With closed-back headphones, you're going to run into all kinds of trade-offs there as far as the acoustics is concerned regularly. There are very few closed-back headphones that are actually good. And with IEMs, as mentioned before, you are far more likely to find a palatable sound signature at significantly lower price tags than you will be with closed-back headphones. And even if we're comparing with open-back headphones, there are limits to what you can do with open-back headphones acoustically. So, for example, with planar magnetic headphones, front-sealed planar magnetic headphones, it's very difficult to introduce a bass shelf. Now, there are ways of doing it. You could introduce an electrical filter to do this. You can see examples of this. There are some headphones out there that have this, but by and large, you will just see flat bass extension in the best of cases. And maybe you want a bass shelf, and that's really where an IEM can be tuned with that in mind far more easily. And number 4, and we don't really talk about this all that much, but because the IEM, it sits in your ear, it puts the sound source closer to your eardrum and isolates it. This actually increases the signal to noise ratio. And so this is where there really is a sense in which IEMs can be more detailed, or you can hear more of the details in your music. And that's because with IEMs, your signal to noise ratio is the best that you can get acoustically. Okay, so that's a basic rundown of the reasons why IEMs can be better, but let me give an explanation of how I personally see the market. In practice, when we're talking about individual products, I would have a real hard time saying that headphones are comparable to IEMs in the budget and ultra budget segment, because I don't think they are. I think that's really where IEMs are just in practice categorically better, and you can get way better sound quality with IEMs at far lower price tags than you can with over-ear headphones. And that's with the issues that I mentioned in the previous video in mind. That's with the use condition of bypassing the pinna in mind. I don't think that supersedes the fact that IEMs are getting better and better at lower price tags. For me, if I am going to be spending around $100 on a sound delivery device, I'm going IEMs every time. I'm going to go with the Truth Ear Hexa. I can't think of a headphone that sounds better than that to me. So again, in practice, when we're talking about the actual products that exist, you may actually find that there are IEMs that better match your preferences, better match your HRTF, and are overall tuned better than comparable over-ear headphones at the corresponding price tag. And this is also how I would approach the distinction between IEMs and headphones. Once again, assuming that your use condition is the same. And given that that's probably not the case, I think there are going to be other reasons why people prefer in-ear headphones versus over-ear headphones, or vice versa. Anyways, that does it for this video. Once again, make sure you actually watch through the previous video to understand what that's about and why the title is as spicy as it is. And hopefully this gives you a little bit of sense of the context for the rest of that. But in any case, if you're interested in the deep dive articles that we do, that's up on headphones.com, link in the description for that. And if you want to chat with me, you can do so in our Discord, also linked below. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.